Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Monday, June 21st, West Fargo City Commission meeting. Before we start this evening, I remind everyone, except emergency services, to please turn off their phones. Also make an announcement this evening that Commissioner Jurdovig is traveling and Commissioner Mandy George is with us via Zoom. She is also out of state on business, so we do have Commissioner George with us electronically. With that, would you please join me for a Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First order this evening is to approve the order of the agenda. Commissioners, have you had time to review it?
Yes, I'll make the motion to approve the order.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson.
Second.
Commissioner Simmons, seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the order of the agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Item D is the approval of the minutes of May 17th. They are in pages 3 through 6. They have been distributed.
Make motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Olson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of May 17th as distributed. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Next order of business is the approval of the minutes of the June 7th, 2021 meeting. Pages 7 through 10, they have been distributed.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Simmons seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes as distributed of June 7th. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next order of business is the approval of building permits. Item F, there on pages 11 through 15, it has been distributed.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner George. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Olson. It's been moved and seconded to approve the building report as distributed, pages 11 through 15. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Next order of business is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is items A through J.
Make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Commissioner George seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as distributed. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Proceed to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next order of business is the regular agenda. Item number 1 is a conditional use permit for a ready-mix concrete plant. Ms. Sankey, planner for the City of West Fargo.
Thank you, President Dardis and Commissioners. This application was received to allow for a ready-mix concrete plant operation for supply and delivery of cement to local projects. The property is currently vacant and located west of an existing concrete batch plant. The applicant has submitted a site plan and elevations for a proposed ready-mix concrete operation. Property owners within 350 feet were notified and no comments were received. At their June 8th, 2021 meeting, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the application on the basis it is consistent with city plans and ordinances, with recommended conditions of approval as follows. Number 1, a signed conditional use permit agreement is received. Number 2, clarification by the applicant that the height of the structure is not in conflict with the FAA flight path or restrictive height requirements. Number 3, that the structure meet the North Dakota Department of Health, State Air Quality and Permitting standards. Now, in terms of the height, the applicant has indicated that the facility on the lot to the east, which was granted a conditional use permit by the City Commission in June of 2017, is much higher and was reviewed and approved by the West Fargo Airport Authority. In terms of this, number 3, the structure meeting North Dakota Health, State Air Quality and Permitting standards, the applicant indicated that the state monitors the plants. The structure is actually a storage silo and is covered, it's not a chimney, and planning and zoning commissioners had been concerned about the height of the structure and what that actually was. The applicant is present or a representative in case there are any additional questions.
Thank you. Questions?
Lisa, how close is this to that area where we're getting the complaints on right now? I just got another one just before I got here, so.
Way west of, oops, hold on a second. So this is on the west side of County Road 19, west of where Federal Beef used to be.
So how far west is that, like from where we give the special permit?
It's probably a mile or two.
Okay.
That'd be a good estimate.
Further west?
Right. And there's an existing, batch plant right here. This area over here.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Over here was Federal Beef, and this area is existing right now.
So, when the question was asked about the airport, and this building is lower, but it's also considerably further to the west, is that a concern on the location, the height?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
This is shorter, and the applicant indicated that they had reviewed before.
So there's been some site work going on one of these lots for a number of weeks. They had permitting to fill or whatever.
Yes.
I mean, there's been a lot of work going on there for this coming for approval this evening, so.
I believe they were given, they were able to start work on it, at their own risk.
Yeah, I think I was there 3 weeks ago and there was trucks hauling fill in, I would believe it to be. Okay. Any other questions of Ms. Sankey? You say a representative is here this evening? Okay.
I don't know, Mayor, I don't know how, I know it's not fair to take this into consideration with what's happening further to the east of this, but I'm wondering if this is gonna compound issues. I mean, again, like I just said, I got a call just before I got here, and those folks, something's going on out there. They need some help in that neighborhood. I mean.
This is at least a mile, Commissioner.
And this is a concrete batch plant, it's not concrete crushing. This is creating.
Yeah.
So it'll be minimal dust compared to what's
And
to the
they
east.
do have air quality, from the state. They indicated the state does a collection of fugitive dust as part of their monitoring and permitting. In the past, with the site to the east, there were no concerns, and there weren't concerns with other facilities in the area for, again, a ready mix plant, which is what.
Are you familiar with the regularity that dust monitoring takes place?
I believe they said once a year? Once a year.
Once a year, okay. Could I ask the lady that raised her hand, or whomever's representing this evening, to please step up to the microphone? I have a question for you. Would you please state your name and address, please?
Yes, my name is Nancy Coast, and I'm in South Fargo.
Okay. Mrs. Coast, good evening, welcome. My concern is when we look at the overall, the GIS picture of the site, is there anything done in the dry conditions we're experiencing right now, even travel on, in and out on the dirt? I mean, is there any dust control measures that you do?
We do take dust control measures. Can I bring my...
Certainly, bring the gentleman up, and if you'd state your name too, and for the record.
Jake Anderson, West Fargo. Our concrete, the whole yard will be paved in concrete, which is, it already is from the driveway to the east. Now, when this batch plan gets erected, and then it'll be all around that as well. So in and out, all travel in the yard will be on concrete.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Anderson.
We really don't intend for increased traffic. We're pretty much, improving our facility, so it's not gonna be in addition.
Yeah, it'll still be the same number of traffic coming in and out. It'll just be
A better facility for us.
Okay,
Yep.
very good. Any other questions, commissioners?
Nope.
Commissioner George, do you have any questions?
No.
All right, thank you both.
Thank you.
Commissioners, your thoughts?
Again, my only concern is that neighborhood that's already getting taken to the farm out there. So I guess if you're just making it better and you're putting a facility on it, that's probably better than leaving it the way it is. So I'm okay with that myself.
We have a conditional use permit, and if there's some review or oversight that has to take place, we have that authority through planning and zoning. So we're, just so you're understanding, we're dealing with some other issues with dust up in that neighborhood, so that's our concern this evening. We appreciate that you came and joined us this evening. Thank you for being here. Commissioners?
I'll make the motion to approve the...
Commissioner Olson moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second?
Commissioner Simmons seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the conditional use permit for a ready-mix concrete plant as presented by Lisa this evening. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We're on number 2 of the regular agenda, and it's to hold a public hearing and consider the Lights Consulting and Core Counts pilot application. Lauren Orchard, Economic Development Director for the City of West Fargo.
Thank you, Commission President Dardis, and good evening, Commissioners. In front of you this evening is an application for a 5-year payment in lieu of taxes, or pilot, for 2 businesses under one roof, Core Counts and Lights Consulting. Sarah West, owner of Lights Consulting and 25% owner of Core Counts, is here this evening to answer any business-specific questions you might have. Before Sarah is given the chance to offer her remarks, I will briefly provide an overview of how a pilot works in West Fargo and the positive impacts that would come from the relocation and expansion of the applicant's business. West Fargo's pilot program uses the reduction of property tax on new improvements to leverage private investment by offering successful applicants a 100% reduction in property tax on new improvements West Fargo or has otherwise helped them expand in our community, including Wex Health, Trail King, Bobcat, All Finish Concrete, and others. Core Counts and Lights Consulting have applied to join these successful applicants by offering to increase property value of 3308 Oak Ridge Pond Way by $670,000 in a 3,200 square foot 2-story office building. If the Commission were to grant a 5-year pilot as requested, the total estimated value to Core Counts would be $50,234, Core Counts and Lights Consulting, over a 5-year term. During the term of the pilot, the applicant would continue to pay existing property tax and special assessments, which currently total just over $3,000 per year. Upon completion of the pilot, the applicant would pay all taxes on the property, which we have estimated will be just over $10,000 per year. The applicant has provided a letter from their lender stating that without the support of a pilot, they would be unable to loan the necessary capital to enable the relocation and expansion of Core Counts and Lights Consulting due to the startup nature of the companies. However, if the applicant receives the requested pilot, Core Counts would bring 8 employees, making an average salary of just over $72,000 per year, and Lights Consulting would bring 6 employees with an average salary of just over $59,000 per year by year 5. Beyond bringing these jobs to West Fargo, the services provided by the 2 businesses will help develop local businesses through their tools that increase employee engagement, grow culture, and drive performance. Due to these benefits, the city's review and preview committees, comprised of economic development, planning, public works, engineering, and fire, along with the West Fargo Parks District, have recommended approval of the project. The city's Economic Development Advisory Committee, comprised of local business representatives from 6 industries, has also recommended approval of the proposed pilot. Unless you have specific questions for me, I'd like to invite Sarah West up to describe her business and what the pilot would mean for her investment.
Thank you, Ms. Orchard.
Questions?
Questions for the commission of Ms. Orchard?
Sure, I just have a couple. Have we given pilots out, where's this area, first of all? It's out on the other side of the interstate, right? Correct here?
30 seconds.
And I will let Sarah answer the question about location, and I can actually pull up the site plan in front of us.
I guess my question is, have we given pilots out there before? Have we given incentives to go out in that direction?
So pilots are the only incentive that we really have, other than tax increment financing, that we can use throughout the city of West Fargo. So there is no restriction on where we can use it.
Again, the question was, have we done it before?
We have offered incentives south of 94, if that's the question.
That's my question.
Sure, yes.
Okay.
Additional questions for Ms. Orchard? Commissioner George?
No, sir.
All right, thank you. Invite the lady up then, Ms. Orchard. Good evening. Would you state your name and address, please?
Sarah West, home or business. Home is Moorhead and business is Fargo. So I'm owner of Light Consulting and Coaching and Core Counts. And we are currently in a space in Times Square, just on 13th Avenue, just a few minutes from you. 773 square feet, 773. I use big numbers because I'm also a fractional CFO, so sometimes I throw thousands in there just because it's in my nature. And we currently have 5 employees sitting laps in there. So we were looking for where's our next home for our businesses as we grow. And being that a lot of our business clients are in that part of the community, as we grow, that is where we would like to be, as part of the West Fargo community and then part of the south quadrant as we continue to grow and serve our clients in that. So how we serve our clients in Light Consulting, our biggest revenue generator is a fractional CFO. So prior to starting Light 2 years ago, I was the CFO at Roars, and using that skill set to help small and medium-sized businesses to expand so that they can grow and be big businesses one day. And then for Core Counts, that was a business we started a year ago. And what that is, it's an online tool to help organizations grow their culture through employee engagement and performance. So that's a SaaS-based model that can grow nationally really quickly once we gain traction. We just went to market in March, and we have 6 businesses in our community that are using it currently as our pilot, and then we will go national later this year. So what questions do you have for me?
Commissioners, any questions? Due to the nature of the services that you provide, there is no sales tax collected on anything that you do, is that correct?
No, not unless you guys, the state of North Dakota starts taxing software as a service, but they do not currently.
Okay. Anyone, commissioners, any additional questions? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
At this time, I'm going to, my agenda says that it's a public hearing also, so we're going to close the regular agenda and we're going to go into the public hearing. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak to this item? This is the hearing to consider the Lights Consulting and Core Counts pilot application. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak at the public hearing? Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this item? Again, item number 2, consider the Lights Consulting and Core Counts pilot application. Hearing none, public hearing is closed. We're back on the regular agenda. Commissioners, any additional questions, thoughts?
I have a couple for Lauren again, if I could,
Commissioner
please.
Simmons, please.
Okay, thank you. So, first I'll apologize because some of the stuff goes by me, but I want to make sure I got this right. So, what is the land value worth today?
Right here.
I'm looking to see kind of... What I can tell you, Commissioner Simmons, I don't have the land value right in front of me to pop up, but the estimated taxes per year are $3,000, just as it exists today.
Okay, so I guess my question is this, Lauren. So, like, what is the land value today? What will it be worth when they're done? And how long will it take us to more or less
Sure.
break even for the taxpayer?
Right.
So
if the question is how long would it take for us to recoup that, the way I think about it is the term of the incentive, pretty much. So it's
Okay.
about 5 years.
Okay, and then we'll go from whatever it is up to $670,000. And assess right here.
Right. So when we write that that development agreement, it would say $670,000.
Right, okay. So, okay, I'm good.
Additional questions for Ms. Orchard?
Do you want something?
Whatever's your, yes, sir, I do. Whatever's your pleasure.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Olson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the Lights Consulting and Core Counts pilot application as presented by Ms. Orchard. Is there any discussion? Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Ms. Orchard. Item number 3 is a commercial remodeling exemption policy update. Lauren Orchard, Economic Development Director for the City of West Fargo.
Thank you, Commission President Dardis and Commissioners. At your May 17th meeting, I presented my department's findings on the commercial remodeling exemption and its use in similar communities and offered preliminary recommendations to the Commission. After continued discussion with the Economic Development Advisory Committee, we have developed formal recommendations for your consideration this evening. First and foremost, we recommend continuing to offer exemptions for all improvements identified by state guidelines and to require applicants to apply and receive approval before construction begins. We also recommend new additions to our guidelines, including that buildings be 10 years old or older, and that all applications be processed through the Economic Development Department before they are sent on to the Assessing Department. Additionally, we recommend that the exemption be offered based on the building cost estimate provided by the applicant rather than the final property improvement value. This change would allow staff to consider an application more accurately at the time of submission rather than depending on future property valuation, which cannot be determined until after construction. If this new method is used, West Fargo can create a tiered exemption based on proposed building costs, with applicants either receiving a 3-year or 5-year exemption. We recommend that a 3-year exemption be offered to qualified applicants with cost estimates between $50,000 and $250,000 in qualifying improvements. If the applicant falls within this tier, we would propose that they not need pre-approval by the City Commission, but would rather be processed through the Economic Development Department and Assessing Departments before construction, with the final application approved by the City Commission through a consent agenda item. If the applicant proposed to invest more than $250,000, we would recommend that they qualify for a longer 5-year exemption, but would present to the City Commission through a regular agenda item before beginning construction. And with that, I will offer myself to answer any questions you might have. These are all recommendations provided through the Economic Development Advisory Committee.
Questions from Ms. Orchard?
I have a question, Mayor.
Please, Commissioner George.
For the commercial guidelines, I really like what we see here. I'm wondering if you're going to have another one for residential properties.
Thank you, Commissioner George. We do in fact have a plan to bring residential in front of the City Commission, hopefully at your later July meeting. We first want to meet internally with the planning and assessing departments before we bring that in front of you.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. The question is that, so if there's gonna be an improvement made of more than $250,000, say it's, an improvement of $500,000. When they apply, they're eligible for 100% of that improvement?
Correct, and it would just be on the new improvement.
On the new improvement, but does the state, is that part of the state guidelines, or is that part of our own local guidelines? And is there any discretion as to what that dollar amount might be rather than 100%?
Sure. So the state guidelines only say that we can offer up to 5 years 100% exemption. The city is welcome to make their own rules within that.
So,
Commissioner Olson?
at the EDAC meeting, let's use your example, Mayor, of a $500,000 investment of improvements. That may only increase the value of the new building once our assessment, team has their business of maybe only $10,000 or zero. So they may not increase the value of their property by adding improvements of up to $500,000. So we won't know till the final, till it's done. But at least they'll know where they could get if there was any kind of exemption.
And being you serve on the EDC as well as Commissioner, use your own example. What would be your recommendation then if it only improves at $10,000? You got right to the point I was trying to make.
Yeah.
Okay. So, thoughts on that?
I would give it to them
100%?
on the additional $10,000.
Okay, on the additional $10,000.
That's the only part that we're going to exempt is on the additional new value, not the entire value. Because maybe
which is different than what we were doing. No?
No.
For Nick, no, that's what we were doing. What we were offering, Commission President Dardis, is just a blanket 5-year 100% exemption, but it was dependent on the value that they produced. So we had to wait until an assessor went out there to make sure that they went above $45,000.
That's what I meant, but I didn't say it well, so thank you for that. Sure. Commissioner Simmons?
I was just gonna say, so you're recommending this, Commissioner Olson, you think this will
Because
work?
before, they only had to
Best.
spend $45,000, and then if they increased their value by $200,000, we gave it to them by only,
Right,
but here they have to meet at 2 different tiers,
okay,
and it also streamlines it if there's only a 3-year exemption. I mean, if they only spend between $50,000 and $250,000, then they would only qualify for a 3-year exemption versus the full 5-year. And this is just on commercial.
right. Okay.
There was a lot of discussion back and forth at the EDAC meeting on this. Yep, good discussion on it.
Okay. Make a motion. If you-
Any other questions? Commissioner Simmons moved. Is there a second?
I'll move, I guess.
Oh, okay. I'll second it.
Your mic was on when you said it
I know, I
the first
said
time.
that, I was saying that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? I'd like to compliment you on the process that you went through and the results that you came up with, both whether it's the Economic Development Advisory Committee and or your office. I think this is a much clearer path forward as to how we apply this. So,
Thank you.
great work.
Thank you so much.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Ms. Orchard. Item number 4 is Project 1338, Sanitary Sewer System Rehabilitation, Replacement, and Incidentals. Mr. Scott, City Engineer, City of West Fargo.
Thank you, Commission President Dardis, members of the Commission. So, back on April 19, the City Commission directed staff to start working with more engineering to complete plans and specifications for project number 1338. A draft set of plans have been presented to the city's review committee. That took place on June 8th, and that committee did vote unanimously in favor of our recommendation below, which is to approve these plans and then authorize the bid advertisement. In your packet are a couple sample sheets from those plans, as well as the draft bid advertisement, and then the resolution approving the plans and the resolution directing the bid advertisement. So with that, I will open myself up for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Are there any questions on project number 1338, sanitary sewer system rehabilitation, replacement, and incidentals, as presented by Mr. Scott?
I'll make the motion to approve the plans and specs and authorize to go out for bids.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second, please?
Second?
Second.
Commissioner George seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the recommendation of project number 1338 as presented by Mr. Scott for the sanitary sewer system rehabilitation, replacement, and incidentals of project number 1338. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Scott. Item number 5 is project number 1327, a water distribution loop for 9th Street Northwest. Dustin Scott, City Engineer for the City of West Fargo, presenting.
And thank you again, Commissioner President Dardis and Commissioners. Well, I'm excited to bring this one forward. It's been some time. Actually, it was August 3rd of 2020 was the last time we had this in front of the City Commission. This is one of our projects that are receiving funding from the State Water Commission. It took us some time to deal with land acquisition with a couple property owners out there, but we were successful in doing so and are now moving the project forward. So, as directed by the City Commission, we've been working with our consultant to prepare the final plans. We've got a couple sample sheets attached to the packet here tonight, along with a draft bid advertisement and the resolutions approving the plans and directing the bid advertisement. So, with that, I will pause for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Questions for Mr. Scott on project number 1327? The water distribution loop on 9th Street Northwest. Your pleasure, Commissioners.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Olson. Is there a second, please?
Second?
Commissioner Simmons seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve project number 1327, the water distribution loop at 9th Street Northwest, as presented by Mr. Scott. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Scott. Item number 6, before I go into that, I'd like to remind the public that's viewing us this evening that Commissioner George is with us via Zoom and participating, and Commissioner Jurdevig is out of the area. So, just so it isn't just the three of us up here, Commissioner George is actively participating in the meeting. So, we go on to item number 6, and that's the Improvement District number 1337, not to be confused with 1327, which is the Wilds 21st Edition Phase 1 and 2. Mr. Scott is presenting.
And thank you again, Commissioner President Dardis and Commissioners. So this is the development that we've had before you a couple of times now over the past several months, where it is south of 52nd Avenue, Wilds 21st Edition. The developer is proposing to install improvements to a portion of the 21st Edition. If you recall, the 21st Edition pretty much completes that development. However, the District 1337 is going to be specific to a couple isolated areas within the 21st Edition. And so we've been working with our consultant and the developer to finalize the plans and specifications, which course, is on the agenda tonight, and I do want to mention that on May 28th, we did send out a preliminary assessment notice notifying all those within the district, which again is going to be all properties south of 52nd Avenue, not just the 21st Edition properties, and that's due to some of the regional improvements that we need to construct. This letter indicated that they would be included in the district, along with provided an estimated assessment of about $1,900 for a single-family resident, and that is for the properties not receiving local improvements. Of course, properties receiving local improvements are going to get much higher assessments. So, and one additional thing that's not mentioned here in the report is we did have a meeting with the Corps of Engineers last week regarding the permits that we will need to do portions of work along the diversion channel. If you recall, the developer was very intentful when they submitted their petition for the improvements. They indicated basically 3 phases. Phases 1 and 2 are the individual portions of the 21st Edition to receive local improvements. And the phase 3 was a highlighted section along the diversion channel by which we need to do some ditch grading, filling in the ditch there, removing a culvert. Well, we had a meeting late last week with the Corps of Engineers regarding the permitted work along the diversion. We were notified that for the first time, actually, they are going to include the entire development of 21st Edition in with their review of the permit for the activities taking place along the diversion. The developer did an independent wetlands inventory and submitted a report to the Corps a couple months ago or a few months ago. The Corps at least indicated verbally that they acknowledge that they, as the report indicated, there are no wetlands that will be impacted by the improvements in the 21st Edition. However, they are still going to include that area within the permit that they will issue for the work that we want to do along the diversion. I apologize if that's getting confusing, but whereas we originally and usually ask for a permit to do the ditch filling and remove culverts, things like that, that's usually the isolated area that they look at when they review the permit request and then issue a permit for that isolated area. In this case, they've told us that not only are they looking at that area, but they are also considering the entire Wilds 21st Edition as a part of that permit. And all that really means is that, they will issue a permit for the Wilds 21st as well, but they have acknowledged that they don't feel that there's wetland impact. So, point being, we feel pretty comfortable moving forward still to approve our plans and specs. We anticipate a permit will be received for the diversion work within 120 days of submitting that, which I think we're at about 80 to 90 days remaining now. So, unless something really, the wheels fall off, so to speak, all should be well when we get that permit. But I did want to point that out, as that traditionally hasn't happened in the past. In the past, they really just look at the ditch filling and the culvert work itself. So, and then one other point I'd like to make is that before we open bids, we still need to finalize our developers' agreements. We need to get a promissory note in place. Some of those things are just house cleaning items that take place with all of our development projects. And so we anticipate wrapping that stuff up in the next few weeks. But of course, we need to spend some time advertising these plans. And so to give this project the best chances it has of getting under construction this year, we want to ask for the permission to advertise the bids. Again, I just want you to know that we won't proceed with opening bids until those other items are checked off our list. So with that, I'll pause and answer any questions. Oh, there is also a task order, there is also a task order for the design and construction services, task order number 48, and it's in the amount of $583,350. Now I will pause for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. I participated observing the planning and zoning meeting when this was taking place and when the developer was asking for phase 1 and phase 2. Well, phase 3 was those lots that touch the diversion, the horse diversion channel, or
absolutely, yep, that's correct.
So so lots 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way down to lot 11 was gonna be put on hold because of this whole process. So, has there been any communication with the developer now that, being that this has been somewhat expedited with the Corps' position of what they're taking, are those lots going to, be part of phase 1 and 2 then, or not?
Absolutely. So the improvements in front of those lots are still gonna be, they're included with District 1337. I should mention too that the developer participated in that meeting with the Corps.
Yes.
They've been actively involved with this process, from the beginning. And in fact, they went out and hired their own independent wetland inventory to be done. So, and in working with the developer, we've also acknowledged that within our development agreement, we will put the lots along the diversion as a do not permit yet, and that means a building permit. Do not issue a building permit until the Corps of Engineers permit process has been approved and all other conditions are satisfied. So Megan, our planning director, is working on that developer agreement. I don't know that a draft has been sent yet to the developer, but that is our understanding, and I believe the developer is here.
I also,
help answer questions.
if I can, I also noticed that lots 1 and 2, which originally, during the discussions with planning and zoning, were not going to be as part of the process right away because of snow removal when the, street infrastructure goes in, that's a dead-end piece there for those 2 lots. Is that's still in play or what?
You are absolutely correct, Commissioner President. Yep.
Okay. Very good, very good. If the developer, if you'd like to speak to any of the issues, or, commissioners, you have any questions of the gentleman?
I'm good.
Any questions of Mr. Scott? Again, we're talking about the Improvement District 1337, Wilds 21st Edition, Phase 1 and 2. And there's an approve a task order, number 48, approve the plans and specifications and authorize the bid advertisement for about 500 and, Dustin?
Yep, $583,000.
$583,000.
Is the task order for More Engineering's basic services, which are preparing the final plans and then the construction administration.
Commissioners, any questions?
If not, I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Is there a second, please?
Second?
Commissioner Olson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the task order number 48, approve plans and specifications and authorize the bid advertisement for the Improvement District of number 1337, Wilds 21st Edition, Phase 1 and 2. Is there any further discussion? Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Vote passes on a 3-to-1 vote. Thank you, Mr. Scott. Number 7 on the regular agenda is the Improvement District number 1339, Stockyards First Edition. Mr. Scott.
Well, thank you again, Commissioner President Dardis and Commissioners. I've down to just a few left here, so continue bearing with me, and if I'm going a little too fast, feel free to stop me.
Yes, sir.
So again, as previously authorized by the City Commission on May 17th, staff has been working with More Engineering to complete preliminary engineering efforts for Improvement District 1339. This includes evaluating infrastructure needs and the corresponding impacts, as well as outlining the scope and timing of the improvements to provide the most efficient plan for completing this multi-phased development. A copy of More Engineering's feasibility study is available for reference at the engineering department and was the basis for preparing the attached engineer's report. It was also directed by the City Commission a draft task order to be created for the basic services for this improvement district is attached, and it is in the amount of $60,500 and was prepared in accordance with our master service agreement. On June 8th, the City's Review Committee voted unanimously in favor of the staff recommendation below, which is to create Improvement District 1339, direct the engineer to prepare the report, and approve the engineer's report, approve task order 49, and direct the engineer to prepare final plans and specifications. Just to be clear, this is the improvements in the Stockyards First Edition. So this will now be where we would install the city's infrastructure into that Stockyards area south of 12th Avenue. With that, I will answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Questions for Mr. Scott, please.
Is the plan for the entire area, or just like, are we doing it in phases, like the Wilds has been doing, or is it the whole area that we're gonna have it as improvement district?
Absolutely. Thank you, Commissioner Olson. So the request for improvements, we are doing this in a phased approach. However, all of the underground is going to go in to serve the Stockyards First Edition. The phasing comes into play where the developer has asked and been coordinating with the city to, instead of paving the streets initially, we're going to put in a crushed concrete section, which will be for the first year or two of development, which will, for one, give time for those utilities to settle out. You know, there's a lot of concerns out here with what type of material is underneath that ground. So things like giving the utilities time, or that backfill time to settle before we pave is certainly a great thing. Our condition for that will be that the city's Public Works Department will not do the routine maintenance on that street until the surface is improved to a pavement condition that we accept. So there isn't a multi-phased utility plan, if you will. All the utilities are going to go in, and then 2 years from now they'll request stormwater improvements, at least from what I can tell on the current plan. That is the case.
Thank you.
Additional questions for Mr. Scott? With some of the issues that we've had out there, are we communicating as this process goes through, if we approve the fact that we're not going to put in the street infrastructure and going to allow gravel streets during these phases, that there's some kind of a dust control? I mean, that neighborhood is been inundated. We've been inundated with calls from that neighborhood, and I just hope that we continue to have an open dialogue with anybody and everyone that's involved in this. That is a concern of this city commission.
Absolutely, President Dardis. So yes, we've communicated that same concern with the developers, and our Public Works Director recommended that we add some language into our development agreements that requires them to treat their gravel surfaces with calcium chloride. Now, I don't know what type of frequency, typically a treatment of calcium chloride will last a while, but the challenge gets to be is, as soon as that starts to wear off and the dust is kicking up, who's going to be out there to regulate and throttle them back to come out here and reapply another treatment? And along with just the gravel surface of our roadway, I imagine that, developing in an industrial area like this, they're going to have crushed concrete or gravel parking lots and yards, and again, dust will get kicked up from those activities just being out there. So I can't speak to all of the activities that will take place on the private properties, but I can say that yes, during the construction of our improvements, we will take measures to control dust, and within our development agreement, we will add in some language in there that is specific to taking precautions to mitigate the impacts to that.
Well, at our last commission meeting, one of the principals of G5 was here, and one of the contractors that were working out of there, so, it won't be a surprise to them that there's a sensitivity of this. But I highly encourage that we continue to communicate with them as they move forward.
Absolutely.
Additional questions for Mr. Scott on the Improvement District 1339, Stockyards First Edition, to create an improvement district, approve an engineer's report, approve task order number 49, and direct engineer to prepare plans and specifications. All right, Commissioners, your pleasure.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Commissioner Olson moves to approve. Is there a second, please? Is there a second, please? Motion fails due to, lack of a second. Item number 8, the North Dakota DOT Transportation Alternative Grant Acceptance, TA grant. Mr. Scott.
All right. Thank you again, Commission President Dardis and Commissioners. So some more good news. We have applied for grant funding on a couple multi-use paths as we have over the last several years. And in December, if you recall, December of 2020, we did bring forward these applications and reviewed them with the City Commission to make sure that the Commission was supportive of applying for these particular grants and these particular projects. So, out of the state's priority list, I'm going to run down to see if I can get to that particular sheet here in your attachment. Here's a list of projects that have been selected as eligible for funding, and you can see here 2 of the West Fargo projects made the top 10 list, and one of these projects has been slated for funding and the other has been identified as an alternate. So I'm trying to figure out how I can, here we go, shrink up the list here a little bit. So as you can see here, it's a pretty competitive grant. This is our Transportation Alternatives Grant through the North Dakota DOT. A multi-use path connecting the Eaglewood development over to the Lights was our project selected for funding in getting $249,000. Then there's another multi-use path connecting the Shields Soccer Complex over to the Elmwood Park, and that particular project was selected as an alternative. And what that means is that if a city decides not to move forward with one of their projects, or if some other funding becomes available to the state, they will look to that project first. They will basically go down the list here. So at this point, what I am asking the Commission to consider is accepting the grant for the project connecting the Eaglewood development over to the Lights development, and I will refresh your memory here with a map of what that looks like. There is a park here located just east of 9th Street West along 28th Avenue. Again, that's the Eaglewood development here. That path then will connect basically all the way over connect that facility over to the Lights facility. So, again, our recommendation is to accept the grant funding and then authorize staff to begin preliminary engineering efforts. Construction with this grant isn't slated until 2024, so we do have some time here to work on this. I anticipate that we would try to do this project internally with our own resources. So.
Okay, so the $61,000 local share of the costs.
Yes.
How will that be? How will that $61,000 be paid?
At this point, I would let's see, I'm going to go to the financial analysis here. We would be adding these projects to our capital improvement plan, and I would imagine that we would use capital sales tax for the local share. I would not anticipate the city creating a special assessment district. But those are
Mrs.
things.
Fisk, do you agree with that assessment?
Yes, I do, President Dardis.
All right, thank you. Same can be said of the other one if we move forward on that.
That's correct.
Very good, thank you.
I would move to approve under the condition that a special assessment district is not created.
Can somebody clarify? I didn't hear that. Commissioner George, could you state that again, please?
I would make a motion to approve under the condition that a special assessment district was not created to fund it.
Thank you, Commissioner George. Is there a second, please?
I didn't really hear what you said, I'm sorry.
She's moving to approve
For what?
as long as there's not a special assessment district that we pay for it from capital tax.
Okay, can we guarantee that? Yes?
Mrs. Fisk, yeah.
We can, if you designate to staff right now that that is how you wish to fund or our portion, when it comes back to you, that will be a reminder that we give you that it's capital improvement sales tax funded, no special assessment.
Okay, I'll second that.
Commissioner Simmons seconds. Commissioner George moved, Commissioner Simmons seconded, to improve, the North Dakota DOT Transportation Alternative Grant Acceptance as presented this evening. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 9 was tabled at the last commission meeting. It will remain tabled. The chairman of that committee to review, Commissioner Jurdevig, is not with us here this evening. There has been a number of meetings and discussions about this. We'll bring it forward, I would guess, at one of our July meetings. Mrs. Fisk?
The intention would be to bring it to the second meeting in July in hopes that we have a full staff of commissioners available for that meeting.
Very good. Thank you, Mrs. Fisk. Item number 10 is the engineer's report. Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Commission President Dardis, members of the commission. Well, I promise this is the last time I'll be up here. Not much to report on again. Melissa does a great job keeping everybody up to date on what's going on with our downtown Cheyenne Street project. Certainly encourage everybody to get on our website or go to Facebook and see the aerial progress, the aerial images and seeing that project progress through. Xcel Energy's project out here, I do want to make mention that, of course, everyone is certainly now feeling the impacts of that with the lanes being closed down. I did ask Xcel Energy today when they feel like they will be far enough along to open up those lanes back to full capacity, and their response was sometime in early to mid-August. So that tells me that there's still 6 weeks yet of the traffic impacts out here. So originally they told us their completion dates were going to be sometime this fall. This is not a typical city-type job where we have exact completion dates anticipated, and even if we did, ours are always a moving target too. But so the best answer I can get out of them is sometime early to mid-August is when they'll have 9th Street fully open back up to full capacity again.
I'm going to ask about a specific access into Family Fair and Ostrom's. Is that going to be August too? I mean, right there, that's a tough one on those businesses in that area.
That's a great question, Commission President. I did not ask specifically with that access. I certainly will tomorrow.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Scott. Commissioner Olson.
I did come on that street this morning, and if you're coming from 13th, as of today, if you come from 13th Avenue and going north, you can pull in right after that gas station into there. But the next entrance into that area, I think, was closed.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Additional questions for Mr. Scott?
And just one,
Please.
is all the construction of that pipeline is still south of Maine at this point? Or are they working up north of Maine? I guess I haven't.
They are working on the north side too.
They are, okay.
Yep, and that's going pretty well. A lot less traffic up on that side, so.
Right.
Does that conclude your report?
That's everything, yep.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. City Administrator's Report, Mrs. Fisk.
Good evening, Commission President and Commissioners. I just have a couple quick items, and then I'm going to have our Police Chief, Chief Otterness, come up. He wants to introduce some new officers to you. We've already talked about the purchasing policy. My intention is to put that on the second meeting in July based on the outcome of, once we get the drafts out to you guys and you get a chance to review the policy. The other item is, I want to remind you all that Wednesday at 4 p.m. is the grand opening for the Northern Lights. So that is coming up here pretty quickly. And the last thing I have is I just want to check with those of you that are present. For our July 6th meeting, we're having some concerns of there being a quorum. So I was just curious who will or won't be able to attend.
I won't be here.
You won't? Okay.
I thought you said you wouldn't, Mayor. I think maybe Eric said, I don't know what they said.
Mandy said she could be.
Yes, I can make the 6th.
Okay. So are you comfortable with leaving that one on the 6th?
I won't be here, so I don't know about you, but I'm comfortable with it, yes.
You're not here.
I'm not here,
Okay.
not. And
Let's do a doodle poll including Commissioner Jurdevig. I think he said he'd be here, but
Okay.
I'm not real positive. If you would, please.
Yep, I will check into it and reach out to you guys. And last but not least, Chief Otterness will be coming up to speak with you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisk. Good evening, Chief.
Good evening, President Dardis and Commissioners. I just wanted real quickly tonight to update you on some recent happenings in the police department. We were able to hire 2 new police officers that started with us last Monday on June 14th. They are not here tonight to introduce you in person, but at some point we'll get them in front of the commission to introduce you to both of them. Officer Wesley Booth, he's going to be badge number 708. He comes to us from the Leesburg, Virginia Police Department, where he worked in Virginia for approximately a year and a half. He's a graduate of the Norwich Senior Military College in Vermont, where he received a bachelor's degree in criminal justice in 2014, and previously served as well in the United States Army, and was honorably discharged at the rank of captain prior to joining the Leesburg, Virginia Police Department. So he attended his Peace Officer Academy training at the Northern Virginia Criminal Justice Academy and graduated from there in 2019. So we're happy to have him on board. In addition, we've also brought on Officer Jaron Birch. He's going to be badge number 709. He currently resides in the city of West Fargo. He's a native of the area, is a 2018 graduate of Davies High School, and he received his Associates of Applied Science degree in Peace Officer Training and Skills at Alexandria Technical College in Alexandria, Minnesota, and he graduated from there in 2020. So they just started week 2 of our 5-week in-house academy, and then they will move on to a 16 to 20 week field training program after they complete the 5 weeks of in-house training. So I just wanted to let you know that in case you see 2 new faces around the police department, we've got 2 new officers that just got hired. So
Thank you, Chief.
Yep, thank you.
Mrs. Fisk, correspondence you want to share?
I handed each of you a packet of correspondence that we have received since the last meeting, so when you review, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out to me.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisk. Does any commissioner have any non-agenda item that you'd like to bring forward this evening?
I do, Mayor.
Commissioner.
Thank you. I've had calls again about the dust out there, and it's getting kind of irritating, quite honestly. We have to do something about this. I don't know what the answer is, but if Tim, maybe step forward and see if you've gotten any more information. I got a call again today that the dust is flying.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. I did review the site on Saturday and spoke with the developer of the Stockyards property and actually ran into him heading out there with his family, and they took a look at it. They were not crushing on Saturday. We believe primarily the dust is coming from the roads in the area. I checked with our Public Works Director before the meeting today, and they have looked in the past at laying dust control on 7th Avenue, which is a city road. It would cost us around $2,000. I'm throwing quick ballpark out there that he gave me quick before the meeting, right. So please don't quote me on that. But so there is some cost associated with dust control on our road within the site. We're reviewing the demo permit. Megan Elsog, along with Mark Cowish and the building inspections, continues to monitor their watering operation. They've provided a good plan for how they can deal with crushing. We also have Excavating Inc., who has a conditional use permit to do crushing at their site, we can review that conditional use permit that was approved a number of years ago and see what kind of review we can do before the commission on that. It is, as we talked about earlier with this improvement district, it is industrial land. There was likely to be gravel, dirt, those type of movements within there. It is adjacent to a residential lot residential lots across the river. I don't know what the end answer is. I do know that the stockyards, previously being an agriculturally zoned lot, had a lot of uses that could be not compatible with residential development. And we have to consider what's better here and what we can do, and that's what we do when we go through this sort of rezoning process, is look at those things and what types of items we can do to address those incompatibility issues. We do have a landscape ordinance that has buffering requirements for those types of uses, and if you feel that that's inadequate, then we may need to look at ordinance changes to that. Or, you go that PUD process where you add conditions above and beyond what otherwise would have been added, or conditions of their being able to get permits.
On a conditional use permit, could we set forth specifications as to treating the roads with regard to water to keep the dust down, the frequency of number of times per day, or the frequency of the number of hours they're in operation?
Yes, you can, Commissioner President Dardis. Conditional use permit gives a little bit of leeway to the commission on conditions that they can add. The only thing I'd say is that the zoning to industrial doesn't prohibit us from them having gravel parking lots. It prohibits them being able to crush concrete without a conditional use permit, or stockpile without a conditional use permit. So they could, say we're gonna just have industrial lots there and have a gravel lot that has trucks in and out of it, and that could kick up a lot of dust, which I think is what's happening right now. There's a lot of dust getting kicked up from all the activity. There's a major demolition project going on there.
That being said, Commissioner Simmons was called again today. I had a number of phone calls on Friday, and so, it's becoming a very sensitive issue with those homeowners, as you're well aware. Mr. Sober, you yourself have been on site for inspection. Megan's been out there, and we appreciate that. But we have to continue to communicate with those commercial interests that are out there that this is very serious, and that I think that the commission's going to. I know that I'm going to lose patience if there's not some type of resolve as to how they control some of that dust. And I realize they can't control it all, but. So we'll leave it in your capable hands for your purview. I would ask that if you're going to meet directly with the contractors, that Mr. Simmons, would you mind being a commission representative on that?
That'd be fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. If Commissioner Olson, he's kind of the street guy, so I don't know where that falls, but I'm okay. Sure.
Yeah, it's almost a development issue, and I apologize, Commission President Dardis, Commissioner Simmons, with the ordinances that we have in place, we're limited to what we can and can't do sometimes, and so as a person has a right to their property, we have contacted the State Department of Health on air quality. EPA has contacted us, they've been on site as well. So there are regulatory agencies outside of our control that are looking at this as well.
Well, we just, within your limitations, we just ask that we address this issue
Of course.
For these residents. We owe them that. Thank you.
I guess the concern I have is I think they've lived there long enough. They've been here many years, so they know the difference between dust and cement particles. And when I get a call today, it sounds like it was against cement particles, and that's something I think we can control. I realize we can't control the dust, but I think we can control the cement particles when they're crushing.
Yeah.
That's the concern that I have.
I didn't hear that one today, but Megan will have our code enforcement officer and inspection administrator address that.
Well, when we're through, I'll give you the number to the gentleman so
Thank you.
you have it. Maybe you already do. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sober. Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Anything else, a non-agenda item from any of our commissioners? Is there any non-agenda item from any of our department heads that you'd like to bring forward? Okay. Anything from the public? Old city commissioners.
The only one here tonight. It's crazy.
Commissioner Thorsted, great to have you with us this evening. Commissioner Simmons.
Move to adjourn.
Commissioner Olson.
Second.
We stand adjourned.
At a very good time, I might add.